Welcome everyone to Breaking Big Blue. I'm your host, Jordan Raanan on ESPN, ESPN.com, Giants reporter, and we're here with the Breaking Big Blue Giants Sports Nation collab. We got a lot to talk about today. 22-9 loss for the Giants.
Stop
That's
saying
almost
Giants
like
Sports Nation.
Giants Nation show. I said that again. Giants Nation show. Sorry, Bobby. That's Bobby Skinner, of course, Giants Nation show. And we are going to have Bobby on later. We got a few things we gotta go over, Bobby. There's some fights on the street that we obviously got to talk about, but
Pussy.
but since there are some big topics that need to be addressed, namely, we're on the verge of the Jaxson Dart era. Like that, everything, all signs are pointing to Jaxson Dart being named the starter, if not already, behind the scenes by tomorrow/Wednesday morning in the absolute latest. Like, there is no way that Brian Daboll is going to do that press conference, bizarro world press conference he did today, where he's just not going to answer questions about who is starting quarterback. And instead, we're working through personnel decisions, right? We're working through it. We're going over the tape. We're evaluating everything. You still, first of all, he watched the tape before, actually not usually before Sunday night's over, but it's a Sunday night game. So he watched that tape before 6 a.m. on this morning. Like, he doesn't need to go over the tape to make a decision on Russell Wilson. And I'm not saying who's starting, who's not starting. This is specifically about quarterback. So if you're going to go this far, you can't now then roll it back and be like, oh yeah, we're still starting Russ. Like, the hay's, everything's, it's out of the hay's out of the barn. Do I have that right, Bobby? Is that the expression? The horse is out of the barn. What's the expression? Out of the barn.
Pussy.
That's not the expression. Okay, but whatever it is, there's no way that they're going to go back on it right now and then say, well, you know what? We're starting Russell Wilson. We're still going back. We're still going to go back and roll it back one more time. We're sitting at 0-3. And then I asked Brian Daboll, I thought this was actually very interesting. So you talked about all these checkpoints that he has to hit, Jaxson Dart. That you didn't want to play him early. He's got to hit all these checkpoints. And he said, where's the exact quote? Well, we put him in the game for the last 2 weeks. So we wouldn't put anyone in the game we don't feel confident with. That means he's been itching to put in Jaxson Dart for weeks now, right? That's why Jaxson Dart is even the backup. And let's be fair. I don't even think it's fair that Russell Wilson is hearing boos. He's making his first start at home for a new team. And he got booed during a tie game. And yes, it was after a second interception. But he got booed in a tie game before halftime of his first home game, after throwing for 450 yards last week. So, like, the reason he's in that situation is because they made this decision, hey, we're going to make him the backup in the first place. There was no reason to have him as the backup. What, for the 3 plays each game, that last 2 games, that package that you had? So then you're putting unnecessary pressure on Russell. You're making it so the fans know that the second Dart runs on the field, they're cheering. When he goes off the field, they're booing Russell coming back on the field. And then they're chanting, we want Dart. Because he's already this close to being in. He's actually already been on the field. You could have just kept him in the game. A totally unnecessary situation the Giants created. And this is what they do. This is what this regime does. So it just didn't make sense. So what I take from listening to Brian Daboll today on Monday was that they are in the process of going to Jaxson Dart. You hear the rumors, can't get it confirmed at this point, but it just, everything seems to be heading in that direction. And it probably should. I mean, they're 0-3. They're facing 0-4. And we said this from the start. This is their save my job card. Like Brian Daboll's feeling the pressure. They're 0-3. They went 3-14 last year. They've lost, 17 of their last 20 games. 17 of 20 games in the NFL. That's terrible. And what can he do at this point? Their offense is brutal. Yes, they had a good performance against the Dallas team that we realize is the Dallas defense as much as anything else. They stink. Stink. And then you go to the game, and I just saw it up here. Somebody was saying the Giants' home opener, like this is where the team is at. The Giants' home opener is filled with Chiefs fans, red all over the stadium. It's filled with Chiefs fans for the whole Giants home opener. That's where this team is as a franchise. That a good chunk of the tickets are going to outsiders. And then they show up, and so Giants right now, they don't have a kicker. They don't have a kicker. Graham Gano gets hurt in pregame warmups. So this is where we stand right now with the Giants. The kicker situation, terrible. And everyone's saying here, make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you like it. Right, Bobby? That's what we need, likes. Where are you today?
Like and subscribe.
Okay. All right. You're producing on the back end. I see you. So now the Giants are going to need a kicker. He's got a groin injury. You could tell he was wincing. There's no way that Graham Gano is going to come back. But here's the thing. You say it's bad luck. And sure, it is. It's bad luck. It's bad luck that the guy got injured. But when you make decisions to bring back a 38-year-old kicker, these kind of things are more likely to happen. And by the way, at $3 million. So like all these decisions build up. What about, hey, we need to fix the run defense. Okay. What's their Giants' big move? Roy Robertson Harris? Jeremiah Ledbetter, who didn't even make the team? Darius Alexander, who was inactive originally and, doesn't look very good at so far? Like, these are your solutions? You wonder why you're 3-14, but all these little decisions add up. And that's how you end up with a bad team and with a lot of losses. Now, a 38-year-old kicker, exactly. Injury-prone kicker, so Josh says it here. 38-year-old injury-prone kicker, and they cannot bother to even throw one asset at the situation. Yeah. How about an undrafted free agent signing even? There was some guys that were undrafted free agents that were available. They could have at least had them come in and compete. Nope. 38-year-old kicker. Oh, we're surprised he got injured. Well, guess who's not surprised he got injured? The rest of the world. And yes, it wouldn't have made a difference in the game overall in the grand scheme of things. The Giants would have lost. They would have lost that game. But it would have been a different game. It could have been a slightly different game. They could have played for 5 years. They probably still wouldn't have scored enough. But it would have been like if you kick a field goal on the opening drive, all of a sudden things change a little bit. You score a touchdown, you take the lead. It's a little bit of a different situation. I still don't think they would have won because their offense was terrible, less than 300 total yards, and that's why they're going to end up making this quarterback change. Like it's going in that direction. Now, sorry here. I gotta when I'm getting text messages, I'm just making sure, double checking, in case something goes down. It is 7:11 at night, so it's possible that a move can go down right now. But now here's another thing. So asking guys and talking to guys in the locker room, and it's hard to take these things. You almost have to take them with a grain of salt. And yeah, Bobby's going to come on later, and I see all these comments on the side. Bobby, they all want you to talk about Carl Banks and Bob Papa. So we're going to get to that later. But yeah, and everyone else wants Jaxson Dart. talking to the guys in the locker room, I was asking guys, and they need to give an answer, but we could make our own decision on how seriously we take their answer. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, two of the more respected guys in that locker room. I'd say defensively, those are the two most respected guys. Them and Bobby Okereke. They're like the three leaders of that defense, right? So both Burns and Dex insisted to me that this group is not going to fall apart like last year. And I'm paraphrasing here. But they think that there's better leadership on this team as a whole, more veterans. Guys like Javon Holland, like Paulson Adebo, who, by the way, they can make some plays. They're not playing great. But guys like that, veterans on the offensive line, veterans like Slayton, like Russell Wilson, like guys like that on the team. And for that reason, they really don't see this team crumbling and downward spiraling like last year because they have that leadership. Now, it's going to be tested. They're 0-3 right now. We will find out if that's the case. I mean, guys like Dexter Lawrence, Javon Holland, Paulson Adebo, Russell Wilson, if he's playing, these guys also have to hold up their end of the bargain on the field. Bobby Okereke, can you pick up the fumble? Please. Think about how big a difference that game would have been if he picked up that fumble.
I want to build. I'm sorry to jump in early here, but I do want to build on that. I'm talking about the locker room because, like someone in the chat says, like, what are they going to say? This year we're going to fall apart. But what was interesting from that, Jordan, is they basically admitted that they did fall apart as like a team last year when, there was, they didn't lose the locker room, but all that. They didn't quit when, again, there was signs of quitting. I know there's stuff you talked about with, Jermaine Illuminor's comments he made after some games last year and what that might have been alluding to. Like, doesn't that, again, obviously they're not going to say, we're going to fall apart this year, but doesn't that just point to, oh my gosh, it is going to fall apart because it already did once, and this year could be worse than what it was last year, situation-wise, of people being tired of this coaching leadership.
Yeah, that I think is possible that they get tired of the coaching part of it. Like if they just, if they're 1-6, how can they have confidence in the coaching staff at this point, right? Or 1-7, like I could see that happening. But I also think what they were saying and what I took from it was not that the team quit, that there were individuals that kind of loafed and, they couldn't rein them in. And so for that reason, I could see it kind of working is if you have a better mix of guys and you have the right guys and guys that can get in their ear, especially, I think part of that, especially was talking about the secondary.
Yes.
Guys like Deonte Banks and the idea that they do have some veterans back there. Like I said, they need to play better. I think can help those guys, helping from guys like that, the younger guys that think they're better than they are, stay in line and keep moving forward, even when things are going extremely poorly. Now, I don't know if I fully believe it. What do you don't think it has any chance? You just see this as falling apart?
I mean, if they continue to lose games, yeah. I mean, it's basically a given. If a year 4 regime loses 3 years in a row, it's an entirely new locker room, young quarterback, yeah, like again, we'll see what level it goes to. I really think what level it goes to is basically dependent on like guys like Malik Neighbors and Abdul Carter, guys who will be more outspoken of pointing fingers in a sense. Where I don't think Brian Burns is ever going to be pointing fingers publicly at this and that or Dexter Lawrence, but like there is some players on this team that can do it. Man, is just Jack messing with me? Because that you kind of got me if you did. Dable did not announce it, right? I mean, Dable didn't announce it. Yeah, it's not. I was going to say it scared me that they made the switch to quarterback.
No, we're not there yet.
So that's just again something that comment from Brian Burns was meant to like do damage control. When around, I was like, oh, so all the we fight we didn't fall apart last year is all just BS because you did.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, no, you're kind of telling me you did fall apart last year and guys weren't giving their all. So but yeah, I mean, they couldn't say that, but did we not know that to a degree? We saw it.
Sure, but again, that wasn't.
Did you really think that he didn't lose the locker room at all?
Oh,
I
I knew.
know I spoke to way too many guys that were just, you know, they don't care for this regime.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Senior Bowl, everyone was, singing my ear about issues within, no trust in the defensive coaching staff. Shane Bowen specifically, and with some younger players who were being questioned about some of their effort and stuff. So,
So
all right,
hear me out on the Shane Bowen thing, and like I get it. I don't think he's a great coach.
the
But
scapegoat.
I thought it was so ridiculous last week that we're sitting there and everyone's pointing the finger at him and saying he needed to be fired. They are 3-17 since he started, right? And he's certainly contributed to that, and his defense has contributed to that. But in that 3-17 stretch, the biggest problem is what?
The offense.
The offense. So to then point the finger squarely at him just comes off as wrong to me. Like, why are we not sitting here pointing the finger at the offense and saying, yeah, Brian Dable, and we're like pointing it off on another defensive coordinator? I mean, he already overhauled the defensive staff how many times? Like, it's like, how many times are we going to do this at this point?
The issue is this show gets aggregated like crazy by Big Blue Film Room, which
yeah, for sure.
I don't mind, but can you do like a reply with the link to the show so we can at least get the clicks off of it? But it's like, oh,
welcome to my world. I think that once upon a time I started complaining about that, and you in the YouTube world came and attacked me. You hated me for it.
No, you said that people steal our work. Aggregating, again, it's whatever. But
yeah,
again,
you're taking what I say, and when I report, and then there's never a link. It doesn't come back. It just goes, and you don't even attribute it. And that was my complaint at the time.
It's more so removing the context that would frustrate me more so than losing the clicks and engagement, because people who listen to you, people who read you. But the point I was making was like, yeah, no one's saying that Bowen's doing a good job, but it's just Brian Dable cannot go to ownership and say, hey, we got to one more guy. We got to get one more major change that is in me. That's the point. It's not to say that Shane Bowen is this great defensive coordinator. It's just the fact that Brian Dable cannot do that. Like he's got his last one is literally happening right now. It's Russell Wilson and making the move for Jaxson Dart. And again, Shane Bowen's soft defense at the end of the half and the end of regulation last week sucked. I don't think he gives you much advantage as a defensive coordinator at all. But the offense has been pitiful. And, said it last week on our recap show, saying like my worst nightmare is that this Cowboys defense is terribly talented and terribly coached, and this is a total aberration of what this offense was. And in reality, that's what this offense is, and we'll see if Jaxson Dart comes in to save the day.
Yeah, I mean, look, we said this from the start. Jaxson Dart was going to play when they couldn't justify playing Russell Wilson anymore, and I think that's pretty much where we're at, right? Like, you can't justify playing Russell Wilson anymore. They're not winning games; they're losing. Where do you go from here now? By the way, we're going to just play Jaxson Dart. He's our savior. This is our guy. This is the guy that's going to take us. By the way, how bad does it look that Daniel Jones is playing great?
Here's the thing: is I don't think it looks. It does look somewhat bad in the sense of like, oh my gosh, look what they're getting out of this guy. But there was just in no world where they were going to keep Daniel Jones on the roster for this year. With Saquon and McKinney, you could talk about the decisions to let those guys walk. Nobody in their right mind was saying we need to keep Daniel Jones for another year.
That's not the thing that should bother Giants fans. It's that it reached that point in the first place. Why weren't we able to get quality? Like, they got the one good year out of him, right? Why did it go so bad? Why couldn't they get him back to anywhere near that level? And by the way, he's playing at that level or even higher now.
Yeah, he's playing the best ball of his life.
They got the worst out of him. So that reflects poorly on you. That's what I'm saying. It reflects poorly on the coaching that they gave Daniel Jones, the situation that they gave Daniel Jones, the situation that they gave Saquon Barkley, the situation that they gave Xavier McKinney, Julian Love, Leonard Williams. Like, these guys are all have Sterling Shepard's rejuvenated.
Yeah. Well, the thing is part of it, I think, with DJ was mental because physically he was just missing passes last year. Like it's again, there's I don't feel like doing the whole Daniel Jones
I
thing
agree.
because
But that's my whole point. Is how did it get to that point in the first place?
That's like a 15-minute topic with just way too much nuance to do on this show right now. So I guess I'm on right now. Did you have any other notes you wanted to unload from your bag before I hit you with my questions and then we do chat questions?
Just one more thing on the Russ thing. So when Russell has his press conference, we're in the locker room at the same time. So you kind of have to choose. You want to go to the Russell thing. And when I went back and watched it, it was almost sad to watch. Like, there's only a few reporters in there talking to Russell Wilson. He sees the writing on the wall, right? And it's just like, I get it. We have no emotional connection. Giants fans have no emotional connection to Russell Wilson. He's been here 2 minutes, right? But he's had a really good career. And it just felt like, to me, like, oh, wow, this is what the end of his career looks like. And to see that, I was like, it's kind of sad, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he's a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback, and his last pass, possibly in the NFL, was throwing it at the field goal post on 4th down.
Yeah, what was that?
So what I think, I
again, you think he tried to hit him high in the back of the end zone and overthrew it?
I think they ran 4 curls on that, and the point was to get them to think that it was all curls and then have like the safeties drive down, and then Slayton goes across the back of the end zone because everyone drives down on the curls. And he's just so short, dude. Like whenever he gets into that, like it's kind of funny looking almost, where he's like he like does like one of like something like that, and he like ducks down. It's just the ball sails on him whenever he has to throw over the middle of the field. It's like he just can't. Again, I don't think he was throwing it away. I think he just couldn't. I think he just took a terrible throw because he had an offensive line in his face.
I think so
very
too.
Short.
One more thing.
How short he is when you stand like see him next to like stand next to Cam, short. Like he's very short.
One more thing before we move on, and I know a lot of people are saying this. I just want to go through this scenario. Would like, let's say the Giants are saying we need to make a change, but we'd still like to wait to bring in Jaxson Dart. Maybe, just maybe, I'd leave like a very slim chance. I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I'm talking like 2%. But would they go to Jameis at this point?
They've went from QB1 to QB3 before. But this was
the general rule with this group is anything is possible. And if you think it's the wrong move and you think that it's too, like they wouldn't do it, then you should keep it in mind and you never discount it. So that's why we got to give it at least like a 2% chance.
And I actually had a Jameis note of asking about that because, like, talk about their whole plan. They kept on talking about we have a plan for Jaxson Dart. We have a plan for Jaxson Dart. I don't believe this was the plan to go 0-3 and then be like, all right, shit, let's start the rookie quarterback.
Well, you heard me ask him about the checkpoints, right? I said, you talked about all these checkpoints he needed to hit. Like, basically, has he hit them all? And he's like, well, we already put him in a game. So he's basically saying, yeah, forget those checkpoints. We're already done with those. Now I can go start him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's why I don't think there's any chance they make the jump to Jameis, because he basically defended the fact that Dart is ready now in that press conference answering your question. So I don't see it. But again, this is why, like, one, now maybe Dart comes in and lights it up and is actually 100% ready. But this is why this team, dude, and when you talk to people, why do they fall for it all the time? Like, they just, the whole meme of like the fell for it again award, like they fall for the preseason again. And that went with a bunch of things. Regardless of like how ready Dart is, I think they're basing it off of the preseason games. Hell, I almost said Jerry Shuplinski. Shea Tierney, the QB coach, said that's the best indicator of how ready he is. And when it's like, no, it's not. Like, that's the most basic coverage you'll ever see. Training camp is. And he did progress during training camp. So you could even say that. But preseason games are not the best indicator. They're actually like the worst indicator of like testing a guy to see how ready he is. We talked about Jameis being there just in case this did go this bad with Russell Wilson, that if it goes this bad, you have this buffer to go to Jameis. Is there anybody in the front office who was like, why didn't we keep Jameis QB2 so we could go to him right now and buy us 3-4 games and then put Dart in, which was our plan later on in the season? Because there's no matter what you think if Dart should have been played last week, they talked about having a plan all offseason. This is not their plan. This was never their plan to be going to Jaxson Dart in week 4.
I spoke to people in the organization and they told me they would like to keep Dart from playing as long as possible, right? Meaning like they were talking like second half of the season. And so, yeah, you can't sell me that this was the plan now. Like I know, like definitely wasn't the plan. The plan was Russell will play, we'll win some games, we'll keep it, we'll keep it on the rails so everything doesn't go off the track. And then we'll find a spot for Dart later on. Let him sit, let him learn, 8, 9, 10 games, and then bring him in later. But guess what? It was always going to come down to when they needed to save their jobs, they're going to go to Jaxson Dart. When Brian Dable, the pressure's building up, he's not just going to sit there and say, oh, yep, I'll keep rolling it back with Russ, who's a limited quarterback at this point, right? He could do two things: dump the ball and throw it deep. There's nothing else. That's it. That's what it is.
But Jameis isn't limited, right? Now, again, Jameis is only good in small sample sizes. You don't want to large, or you're just going to turn over the ball at an alarming rate, and it's not going to be fun after a couple of games.
We already got past that point when they made him the backup, right? Dart.
But that's the thing is, like, did they not consider the fact that Russ would be this bad, and that's why they're in this situation of not putting Jameis as QB2? Like, that's questions I have. Let's see other questions I have. I do want to revisit the kicker situation, and I want to hear what you've heard, because last offseason we talked about the offensive line plan and it was like boring because it was repetitive. Where in fact I remember even me and Justin were like, no more talking about the way they're deploying this offensive line for a month because we're talking about it too much, with Josh Azudu as the swing tackle and then Jermaine Illuminor playing at guard and Neal being slated as the right tackle with no competition, and then Neal's injury fixed part of that and they signed Greg Van Rote, blah, 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 all that. This year it was like, why have they not at the bare minimum brought in real competition for Graham Gano? Because they could have saved actual money on his contract, not just a few pennies. They could have saved actual money on his contract. He's been injured and bad the last 2 years. What have you heard on like their thought process on Graham Gano when this was, again, this is not hindsight. Every single media member and fan was like, yeah, I don't understand why we're doing this with Graham Gano again.
Yeah.
When you're not tied to him financially anymore.
So my understanding was that Gano was on kind of thin ice this summer. And Gano and Nacho, right? And everybody brought up Daniel Bellinger too, because he's the third contract, right? Those were the three notable ones, kind of. Not Bellinger, no. Bellinger, from the people I talked to, Bellinger was always good. He was never, really in jeopardy. But Graham Gano had to prove to them that A, he could still kick at a high level, and B, he could stay healthy. And he did, to the point where they didn't adjust anything. He made the roster. It was never in doubt at the end, right? And same with Nacho, but almost by default, they saw where they were at that position, right? Jeremiah Ledbetter didn't work out. Darius Alexander's not ready to play, even though he's playing. Am I wrong about that? Have you seen anything better? I didn't really watch him.
He's not good.
I know he played yesterday. I didn't watch a lot of it back yet, so I didn't get to see him. But yeah, as far as
focusing on Alexander, to be honest, but he looked really bad last week, so I don't think he made a big jump this week.
I agree. I saw last week he was getting pushed back far, and then run defense in the second half wasn't very good. So, but yeah, Nacho and Gano, from what I understand, were kind of in jeopardy and had to earn their spot, and they did. And then Giants decided, okay, then we won't touch them. We'll just roll along here. And also they were a little leery about going with the young kicker, and they thought, they needed someone they felt like they could trust. That you see some of these other kickers, like there's guys that hit 70-yarders, and then there's some guys that just fall apart, right? Like the guy on the Falcons couldn't hit a kick anymore, like Koo, right?
Yeah.
And there are a couple guys that does happen to guys like some teams.
It's happened to Gano over the last couple of years. But again,
Yeah,
why?
it has. But he had a good summer.
But
And
did
then
he?
when he had that preseason game, that was the one.
But the injuries were the issue with Gano. And I understand, yeah, he looked good in that preseason game, but they don't let him kick at practice. Like, again, even when he won't kick all practice, they'll do field goal drill at the end of the game. He'll literally
Pretend to
run
kick,
to the spot and pretend kick. And then he didn't do it in game 2 or game 3 of the preseason. The issue with Gano is not, can he kick anymore? Partly is that, but it's like he gets injured and he's old and you can save money on this. I just don't understand why there wasn't some effort to, one, test him, see if he's going to be able to handle this physically, or bring in a young player. And I hate to keep name dropping this guy, Ryan Fitzgerald, FSU kicker, but like, he was awesome at FSU. You had 2 7th-round picks. He goes undrafted. Right now, he's the starting kicker for the Panthers, and he had a 57-yarder. He hasn't missed a kick this year. Like, there was a guy out there that could have been acquired.
Is that the guy that I said the Giants might have interested in? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I literally put him.
There was a kicker that I heard that from a bunch of people, like, special teams guys around the league. They're like, yeah, I heard the Giants like this guy. Can't remember if it was him or not, but yeah, there was.
Luke was, I think, the only kicker drafted. So, like, I don't understand why they didn't do that when, again, everybody said, like, what is going on here with this?
I mean, these are the kind of mistakes that we're talking about. Like, they add up. If you make all these little mistakes, it mushrooms into something bigger. And so, yeah, I do think they were worried about Graham Gano and he needed to earn his spot, but they felt like he did, specifically with that preseason game. And then they went forward with it. But I agree with you. And I think it goes back a little bit. You talk about Gano not kicking. And I think this was a problem at the end of the Dallas game too. Brian Dable, you're there every day. He runs a light camp, right? They never practice more than 3 days in a row. Like, and other teams, you could do 4. Right? Like that, the rules allow you to do 4 and then take a day off. They do 3 day off, 3 day off. He has data that says it works, but I don't know. They run a light camp. They look like they were gassed, the defense in the last game. Now you got guys like Gano, what we're talking about, potentially never kicking. I never see. I even asked Dable about it once. I was like, do you kick in practice anymore? And he was like, yeah, we kick in practice. And we're like, well, when? Like, we're there every day in training camp. Didn't see it at all. Like, he kicks on the side. He kicks, inside or on the side field. Like, that's not necessarily in team drills, but and again, so I think it comes back to that. Are they really doing enough work? Are they, there's too many guys taking days off. There's too many guys. There's too many days off in general. It's not a super hard camp. And I think this is part of the results of it.
Last thing I want to ask with the Gano thing, and just real quick, because Pat Leonard has been like referencing Gano not being seen at practice. Was this a freak injury, or was there something that's been bothering him for a week and a half or anything, or do you not have information on that?
I will say I don't know of any injury that he had. I don't think he was injured. I do think, from talking to him and seeing, that they have him on a special plan, basically, where they were trying to maintain him, right? They're trying to preserve him, and they know that he's brittle and he's had past injuries. So they have him on essentially a light workload. Gabriel, the special teams coach, said, every kicker only kicks on certain days and this and that. And I was thinking, like, yeah, but this guy doesn't really ever kick. They seem to have him on like a super protective plan. That's just my observation of it.
Some other things I want to clean up. You reported that Tyrone Tracy is dealing with what?
Dislocated shoulder, gonna miss some time. Hopefully it's not a long period of time. So I don't think there wasn't an answer to that the last I checked. But there's different degrees of dislocated shoulders. So it is something he could be back from relatively soon, but we'll have to wait and see on that, which means Cam Scattaboo and then everybody's favorite preseason guy, training camp guy, Turbo Miller.
Dude, just give me one screen pass for people to say I'm an idiot for not wanting him on the active row. I just need the one screen pass for that to happen.
Where you're a proponent of him.
No,
You're anti him. You don't think you think he's one of these training camp guys, right?
Yeah, I think if you get him in space, he can run in a straight line, but I don't think he's an actual legit contributor at running back.
But I do think he has
that one play though. That would fuel a lot of takes.
I think I like Turbo Miller. I think he adds an explosiveness that maybe none of their other running backs have right now.
Yeah, especially with Tracy. But yeah, I mean, again, if he's on the roster, I would throw him a screen passer too. That speed is real, and as much as you could talk about all the other stuff he struggles with, straight line speed can kill.
Yeah.
But
I hope he gets the opportunity because he's traveled a long road. He's a good dude. And then maybe he can contribute because Devin Singletary is not giving you that much at this point. He's just the guy, right?
No, he's not.
Go ahead.
He's got decent vision, but he's just not breaking tackles the way he was a couple of years ago. Yeah. Which he was never this elusive player, but he's just not breaking tackles the way he was.
And I will say, I had reservations about Scatterboo because he is so small, and how that size and power would play at this level. But the early returns have been pretty good. He is able to break tackle. He was able to break tackles. Now, you see him get banged up a little bit here or there, nicked up. He's stretching this and that. So I'm a little concerned long term, but I've been pretty impressed by what I've seen from him so far.
So, he was one of those guys in the draft, and I don't want to get too much into draft takes on this podcast, but it's man, there's a lot of red flags, but he just breaks tackles, and I think I'm in on this guy. But again, I can see all the reasons why this may not work, but he just breaks tackles, and he's done exactly that. He's broken tackles. So good on him. And I think Andrew Thomas that's it. That's another thing I wanted to ask you about. What do you know what the thinking was behind the Andrew Thomas pitch count? Was it out of fear of re-injury, conditioning? Was it the medical staff's recommendation? Thomas's? What was the deal with that? Because
I think a little bit of everything.
I didn't nail down a great reason in my head for that.
I do not think that they thought he could have made it through a full game. The soreness, it would have become a problem moving forward. And so their solution was to kind of give it a half workload because he hadn't been able to have those practice reps. He really hasn't had a padded practice yet, right?
Wednesday he did, right?
Yeah, they didn't wear pads on Wednesday.
They didn't? I thought they did.
No, because remember, they played the long game against Dallas. They did the first 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, he was out there. But he did, from what I understand, he did very little.
Right.
I mean, first of all, I don't even think said he didn't take a team rep in that practice. So he didn't even take a team rep in that practice, even though it was a padded practice. And so I think that there is soreness in his foot. He came out of the game a little sore, but they think this is going to be natural. This is his reality. And so this was their way of trying to make sure. And he said this on Friday, is that he wasn't concerned about being able to play this game. He was concerned about how he was going to react and how he was going to be long-term. So I think very much more so than most guys. And I asked him this, and he kind of knew where I was going with it. And I think he agreed. He has way more say in this situation than most guys do with their injuries after what happened to him the last year. Because remember, he has two very serious injuries. He played through a torn hamstring, and then he played through a torn Liz Frank. And, there were two pretty serious injuries, and it cost him a lot of time. So he was going to be very careful with this one.
As he should. I know I asked you a little bit pre-show on this, so you don't have information on this, but Andru Phillips has given up a ton of yards this year. In fact, I'll look it up, but I think he's given up the most yards for corners this year. Got benched in game. Is there any type of falling out of favor there, or is what went into? Do you know if you have any insight on why he was benched in game?
Yeah,
I don't. Given the most yards.
I don't know specifically. I think it was just performance based, or I don't. I didn't see anything or hear anything about it being effort based. So now he did commit just a stupid penalty, right? I mean, the one before halftime was just so dumb. Like, though, you can't pull the guy. He could have let the guy catch the ball and just tackled him, and they had no timeouts. The half would have been over. Like, to pull him down on that play was so foolish. And I think they might have just got frustrated.
Yeah, he's a physical player, and you live by that, you die by that, and they've been dying by it. And I think last year's under the radar, he has become a pick-on player for teams right now. I mean, I put out a tweet on third down. He's been targeted 12 times, giving up 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 penalties, 7 of 12 conversions on some third and long. So
here's what I think his deal is. He's a good player. He's not a great cover guy. Like that's his weakness. And I get it. He's a cornerback. It's part of the position, but he's good near the line of scrimmage. He could play physical. He can make plays there. He can make plays in near the line of scrimmage. But when you really get him in that one-on-one downfield, doesn't appear to be his strength. Remember, he didn't have. I don't believe he had any ball production in college, right?
No.
Yeah.
He has always struggled with bigger bodied guys in man coverage, and you're seeing teams put more of those guys in the slot, and he's losing to them.
Yeah. Wait, can we get to the main event now?
The Papa stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do one. I want to actually like think out stuff on this. Here's the part that I've and I guess if for people the context is I won't. Okay, so I put out, which was funny because I actually didn't even put out a clip about Carl Banks. It was Sean O'Hara, because Sean O'Hara is one of my football heroes, right? Like when you ask me, Bobby, as a high school football player turned college player for a couple of years, who were your football heroes? And Eli Manning is obviously like, my childhood hero, but it was the 5. It was the 5 who O-line coaches reference of how they stuck together. David Deal, Richie Soybert, Sean O'Hara, Chris Snee, Kareem McKenzie, right? Like my dream interview was to interview all 5 of those
and
guys.
Kevin Booth, he's like the 6th guy. He's part of their crew.
Yeah, I love those guys. Anytime they're together, they could take a picture. And O'Hara was like, "This isn't a bad team. They're just making a couple mistakes here or there." And I was like, stop making me listen to these people say shit that I think is insane, basically. And Banks got offended because Banks was on the screen. He's like, show the full context. And I just think the full context made it worse, where Banks was saying like people who are only going to look at the wins losses, but the people who are there and can see what's getting better. And I'm just like, whatever. Like it's a difference of opinion with Banks. So Banks talked about it on his podcast. And Bob Papa does like, who was it again? When they had like a whole clip prepared, and did like, he's a fan. He doesn't talk. He's not in the locker room. Just basically did the like, who's this idiot? And
so you didn't like that he big timed you there.
No, I think he's an asshole, basically. And I guess I'm not the only person, because I've had a million text messages and emails and stuff, and from people in different positions. No one wants to come out and say it. They're just like, hey, thank you for saying what we all think.
Well, little do they know is those people are probably the ones, like I get 3 people at every game that come up to me and think I'm Bob Papa. So maybe I'm just an asshole to them and they think it's Bob Papa.
So, I mean, I do want to, because I've had more run-ins with Giants PR media than wins over the, but I was just like, dude, what are you doing? Like we've won one game in the last 15 weeks. And you're doing this big time. And again, it was a bullshit ass move. Like I'm not offended by it, but I am going to clap back, and the whole, like, as much as I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, I am a fan. Like, and I left a YouTube comment, like, guess what? Players talk to me. Former coaches and scouts and shit, they talk to me too. People in that deal with as Giants media have talked to me and literally tell me how, like, dude, they tell us we have to have this segment and talk about this thing that's positive. So you can't tell me that nobody's saying anything. I'm not saying John Mara is in there like feeding you the lines, but there is a pressure to be positive when things aren't there. And the whole point I was making is, when Sean O'Hara and Carl Banks were talking off mic, I promise you they were not talking about like how they're close. They're talking about like this is another bullshit. So that's just where it was. But I wish everyone else, all these people who are privately messaging me, would say some things publicly.
So you know what I do find? I'm gonna go at you here a little bit because I think this is kind of funny. And look, I kind of agree with you. Like, nobody wants to hear this is a good team. This is a good team when they've lost 17 of 20 games. You just nobody wants to hear that. It's like that's just like that's reality. Like you are what your record says you are. They say, right? So nobody really wants to hear that. But I do find it a little bit humorous, just a little bit, Bobby, that Bobby Skinner, Mr. Make fun of the media. I didn't really want to be part of the media originally, is now saying like, hey, look, I basically am part of the media.
No, what I'm just saying is
What do you think of that?
don't do the media is some clowns, media is scum. But just
so you're part of that. Okay, you're part of that clown and scum then.
Sure, fine. I'm sorry that Brian Dable doesn't tell me that this play went the only reason the offense is bad because like 3 guys ran wrong routes or at different depths. Like I'm sorry I don't have that information. I'm sorry that I don't get to scream first down Giants 3 times per game into a microphone when everyone's watching the game on TV. Like I understand that I'm not at that level, but like this shit is kind of real. And again, the issue is not with Carl. And if Carl's listening to this, I'd be like, the original clip had literally nothing to do with you. And I'll talk about it a little more on the mailbag tomorrow. And the point was not even going at the Sean O'Hara. Like I literally said, it's not their fault. These guys played great ball, had great careers for the Giants.
I get it. You were saying it's a shame that this is the point that the Giants have put them in the situation is that they can't win games, so we got to make content, and they can't go on air and say this is a terrible organization. That's not what their job is. They can't do that.
Yeah, or they get moved off, which some guys have been moved off of certain shows and jobs and stuff because of that. So that was the whole point I was making. And again, I have no problem with Carl Banks. I disagree with him a ton. And he knows I disagree with him a ton. He disagrees with me a ton. But the Papa's an asshole.
He's fine.
I got no use for Papa.
Carl's good with that. He's good with he'll come at you and go at you, and then he'll see you and he'll joke around. Like that's just part of it. That's like kind of his just personality, especially on social media. Like he goes back and forth, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with good, honest conversation, even if you're going at people back and forth. Like it's good to disagree. It's fine.
Yeah. And that's I don't care. That's just Papa's an asshole. And I didn't realize that everybody agreed with me. I'm just glad they did it directly, where last year their podcasts indirectly were doing that shit. But here's the thing where I'm like, I am a fan, right? Like I'm a fan. I love the New York Giants. Like if you told me this was my dream job when I had this job as a kid, I'd be like, that's awesome. Like this is my dream job. But like I also sometimes when I'm driving down the road, I'm like, I'm covering the New York Giants. I love this team. I grew up loving this team. And I hate everyone who works for them. Like, and they hate me. Like, imagine telling myself at 12 years old, like, hey, you're going to hate like 50% of their employees and they're going to hate you too. Like, that's the part where I get like, what the hell? Let me be a homer. Win one of your 2 of your last 15 games, and I could have like one more bit of a pause. So that's all I've got to say on that. I'll do a little more on the show where I flesh it out and thinking about it. But I got no use for fucking Bob Papa. Greater than now, fucking because he calls plays. Again, we all watch the games on TV at this point too. All right. Let's take some questions.
Yeah, let's get to some questions here.
We got a couple super chats.
All we're saying, Dave Del Cole. All we're saying, Bobby, is give peace a chance. Okay.
Win some games, and I will be the most peaceful person. I will be their PR, right? Like, you know how ready I was to have that graphic of all the Sunday Night Football analysts picking the Chiefs and yelling at them to, SRDs or whatever. Like, I was ready for that. Like, I wanted to be your PR. But
as Rick Bowman says, getting dunked on by Bob Papa Carl Banks on Twitter is a rite of passage, Bobby. Happens to everyone with the tape.
I've argued with him all the time. Like I'm fine with that. I like and he even talk shit, but just do the greater than thou shit drives me nuts.
So Pat Hanlon has a question. Who plays more snaps this year, Bobby? Evan Neal or Jalen Hyatt?
Oh, it's easily Jalen Hyatt because at least Hyatt can go in for. He's played 6 snaps.
He played the other day. Do you think he ran the wrong route?
I haven't even went and looked. I watched first play. It was a boot to the right, so I don't think he did. But hey, ask Bob Papa. He's in the building. He can tell you if he ran the wrong route or not. All right, let's get to some of these super chats though. Omar
Okay, what do we
said,
got?
Giants have to play Jaxson Dart now so they can evaluate him, since there's a very good chance Giants will be picking top 5 again in the draft. Well, here's the issue is that if they're picking top 5 in the draft, it's not going to be by these guys. But here, and again, this is why they should have been fired last year, to avoid this stupid conversation of like, I was not a big on Dart guy. I'm excited to see him play. I'm putting as a fan, I'm putting all my hope in him.
Mm-hmm.
I would just hate to be like, well, he sucked as a rookie. Let's move on. Like, I hate that. I hate not giving a quarterback that type of time. Even if a new GM comes in and if the new GM wants a new quarterback, then go.
You have to be so bad in practice. You have to be so bad in games to get to that point. I don't like, even if you're like a second or third round pick, you have to stink in order for that to happen, in my opinion. And I don't see any world where he stinks. Like, he may not be great, but he's not going to completely stink. He's a talented guy. He's a competitor. There's something to him where I just don't see.
This next class looks like shit too, so he might buy him some time with that anyways.
It really does right now. None of them have played well.
Which again, we do our way too early. I'm like, Lenore's Sellers, like crazy athletic. Are we never going to learn our lessons on these guys who just don't read the defense?
Anthony Richardson.
Jonathan Sanders. Is the fact that the Giants might be, and now again, I've heard Lenore Sellers is like a crazy work ethic guy. Where Richardson's not. Does the fact that the Giants might play for the first pick in the draft change the importance of how you? Again, I hate to do this to a super chat, but it's really hard to answer that question without Jaxson Dart actually ever throwing a pass.
I also think, like, honestly, and I know this sounds crazy, if you're in position, you think you can never have enough quarterbacks. Like, that's a good problem to have. Like, you worry about that. You just keep throwing assets at it until you get it. It's that important. Like, honestly, I wouldn't care if they did that. And Jackson, like, remember the Commanders, it might have been even the Redskins at that point. They took Robert Griffin second, and they doubled back and took Kirk Cousins, third or fourth? Fourth. And Kirk, think about how much that came into play later on. Like, I'm into just putting as much assets as you need to into the position. I really don't care at this point. That position is so important. And the Eagles always do it. They always collect quarterbacks. You could always get something for quarterbacks, at least if you're Howie Roseman, you can.
Yeah, I differ on opinion with some of that stuff. It can't get worse. 0-17 looks very possible, especially with, that is something that me and Justin like repeat, and no one ever listened to us. Well, stop saying it. Never, like, it's like a dare basically to the New York Giants. Stop saying it can't get worse, because it always does. Like, whenever we're talking about that thing, people are like, "Oh, you're an idiot," and then it happens 5 weeks later, and I'm like, I'm not going to victory lap that we're
at least last time when the kicker got injured, he was hurt beforehand. So we could be like, okay, that was just stupid. This is just ridiculously bad luck for the guy to get injured while warming up. Like, that's bad. That's actually not even just like neglect or just bad decision making. That's just, that was bad luck. Now, their plan sucked to bring back a 38-year-old kicker who's injury prone, but the actual act of getting hurt in pregame warmups is really, there's nothing you could do at that point, right? You're stuck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're stuck. Jake Asman, Bobby, keep it up. The shot's the mainstream.
Jake.
He's I've been on his show. He's the ESPN radio guy.
Yeah, Jake's the man.
Jake.
Jake's a big Jets guy, though. He covers the Jets left and right. They stink too, by the way, Jake.
Yeah, it's very I don't want to take shots at the Jets right now because we're 0-3, but they are in like new head coach defend him, and Aaron Quinn is. I keep on calling Aaron Quinn. Aaron Glenn is going to go. That's sink. That ship is just headed for disaster.
We were talking about that before the season. A lot of people. We were just like that. There was a lot of things going on there that you're like, this isn't going to work. Like this looks like it's going to be a disaster. All this bluster and talk is all BS. Like that is not what wins.
And the Jets have like a dysfunctional building as
well. Yeah,
but
plus they don't have a quarterback. Their quarterback situation stinks.
Michael Champlin. This is my issue with Super Chat sometimes is like, we can't answer this question right now. If Dable and Shane get fired, who are the favorites to replace them? Like, it's week 3. Like, there is no favorites to replace them. at this point. I know everyone's just saying John Gruden because he's like in the media a ton right now, but the reality is I just don't see that ever like. So there is no favorite for that.
The only thing I'll say is usually in situations like this, Bobby, when you have a coach and you go with the young offensive guy or the new young guy with no experience, and now we're looking at the last two coaches being guys that didn't have previous experiences, and it kind of blew up on both of them. I could see the Giants brass leaning towards a guy with experience and has done it and built before.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You can't be overreactive because guess what? Kevin O'Connell had no experience. He was laughed at. He wins coach. Like, you can't be overreactive. Like, well, this went bad. We got to do the opposite of that. Like, you got to just evaluate these guys indivially because you
I agree.
That guy out there.
But at the same time, they might need one of these rebuilders that just, okay, we're coming to rebuild the whole program. You know, that I'll bring he'll be like a big name that I'll bring my GM and I'll rebuild it.
But again, like, those guys are very few and far between. And if you're going to say John Gruden, like we talk about bad drafting, like he is terrible.
No. I don't think that's the right move at this point.
Those guys just don't come available very often. Like, you know, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, like who again, please, I don't want to hear Mike McCarthy's name. Like, I don't know. Maybe the Ravens fire John Harbaugh and you go get him. But I don't see that happening.
We have any other super chats to answer?
Yeah, there's actually a really good one from Philip. He says, if they start Dart, what are they doing with Russ? That's actually interesting. Like, do you see him just sticking around as QB2, QB3, or even on the roster?
Yeah, I think that's a conversation that has to be had. The thing is, I think Russ would want to go elsewhere and try and play. Question is there somebody out there who would want him to play?
Oh, you know, like
I'm asking you.
I just don't think Zach Taylor is begging to have Russell Wilson do what he just did last night on his offense.
I agree. And I don't think that opportunity exists for him. And also I think he stays, by the way. This is my answer. This is just my opinion from and I don't really know him that well because he's new, right? But he and Sierra do enjoy the New York life and the New York benefits. And, you know, she's celebrity, not like athlete celebrity. She's like real celebrity. So there are benefits of being New York. Like, they're on the Today Show. The other day they did a fashion show with their kids, Jameis's kids too, Macy's in New York. Like, these opportunities exist because he's here. They're here with their family. I don't think Russell would want to move and uproot the family and do that at this point. That's just my guess, though.
I want to get through the David Del Cole. If you had to trade to upgrade only one position group on the current team, which would you prioritize? Outside of QB, I would say offensive line. Like, just never stop trying to upgrade the offensive line.
What comes into mind for me is tight end also. Like, they're just so pedestrian at tight end.
Yeah, but I can live with pedestrian. If there's one position I can live with pedestrian at, it's tight end.
Well, then you need a better running backs or a better wide receiver, 2, 3, 4. Like, they have one guy that scares you on their team right now. His name is Malik Neighbors, obviously.
And Jay, you guys care too much and put energy into what Papa is thinking. Who cares? This year is about Dart and Dable, not Jones. PR seems it is personal, Jay. Good, very astute point. They make
Jay. I don't care at all. I just like to get Bobby worked up there, and I just lit the match and threw it in there and said, "Go, Bobby!" Like, I 1,000% don't care. Carl has made comments to me over the years numerous times. I just brush it off no big deal. We just go to the next thing.
Jim Halpert says, I hate Shane and Dable. Cheers from Brazil. Trashman asks, Jordan, do you have any insight knowledge on how much influence Carr and Basillo has on the run game?
I think he has some influence. I think he's doing everything and designing the plays? No, I think that still falls on the Kafkas of the world. And but I think he certainly has input into it. Their run game has been disappointing to me. I thought they were I know that their offensive line, especially the interior, is not great, but I thought their offensive line in general was better run blockers than pass blockers, and they might have be even worse against the run this year. Wonder where you stand on that.
Oh yeah, they're terrible. the interior guys just feel weaker, right? Like even like at least they ran duo really well last year, where they double teamed a lot of guys. Now Thomas made a legit difference. Like he makes Runyon better. He makes the tight end like he allows for more cutback lanes.
Did he make Runyon better? Runyon struggled in that game.
I'm talking about
was that after he left?
I'm talking about in the run game. Like Runyon all of a sudden
okay.
wasn't a total liability in the run.
Oh,
like
yeah. They were running the ball well, actually, for the first half, to be honest.
Thomas like legit made a difference in the run game.
He's a good player.
Like, I know people think this is crazy, but like Chris Hubbard, the tackle they had last year that was terrible in pass block.
He was a good run blocker.
I remember you liked him. Blocker. Like there's countless runs where Tracy, and when he was having all that success, was just cutting off of Chris Hubbard and what he was doing. So no.
Well, how about this? Josh Azudu, by the way, is basically healthy, just waiting to get activated.
Yeah. Wonderful. Great. I'm going to say something. No more super chats because we're at an hour and I don't want to not answer. What happens with defense? I mean, that's a very big question. Jason Giambi says, what about Kiffin to replace Dable?
I don't think he's the right personality for this market. He's an interesting guy. But imagine Lane Kiffin came and brought Joe Judge as his quarterback coach, Coach Jaxson Dart.
Bring him back in my life.
Because Lane Kiffin, that's his quarterback coach, by the way, just to those who don't know, in Ole Miss right now.
Could we see Dable go back to play callings? Ask J-Tech.
I mean, that would be something else to Dable just take it over again. Like what a joke that would be. I don't think they could go that route this year. I still think he's heavily involved in the offense, obviously.
Yeah. All right, so this is obviously this is the last super chat. If you guys do any more, we're not answering. Any shot we beat the very good Chargers team? Yeah, we have a new quarterback. There's always a chance that quarterback just fucking lights it up. And this pass rush, this defense is capable of having decent games. You know, like they have held two teams under 30 points.
And also, let's remember back Daniel Jones's first career start, Tampa Bay. That was like, big time vibes game.
It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Let's effing go win the game. He told them in the huddle, like Russell Shepard told everybody that. I remember that. Yeah. And Daniel Jones came in there and was making throws all over the place. Yeah.
We'll finish off with Research Rick, who is actually my ghostwriter for questions for you, and I forgot to reach out to him. He said, you're in the locker room, Jordan. Do players turn it on and off with reporters? And how do you get the most useful information? We'll finish with that. A little Jordan on the beat.
It really depends on the individual. Like most of the time, I just talk to the guys off the record. But there's other times where you're talking to them on the record, and then you'd be like, "Yeah, this is completely off the record." But and you ask them stuff. I don't know. My personal approach: you create human relationships with them, and we just have normal conversations. And I'll go up to guys and be like, "Hey, I want to make sure I'm right with this. Help me out. What do you think about, X and X?" And they give me a fairly honest response. And it's my obligation to not screw them over and, let it out that they're the ones that told me that specific information. And I think I am actually especially protective of trying to hide who I talk to.
I might put you in a situation. Let me ask you about a hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you report something on a player and that player knows that you're right, but then he says, yeah, that guy's lying? What do you do? How does that how does the relation, is that just like, hey, I get it type of thing?
Yeah, we go and you talk it over, like, hey, it's all right. We good? Yeah, we're good. Okay, fine. You got to do what you got to do to stay, good in your workplace. I got to do what I got to do to be good in my workplace. And I don't begrudge if that's something that they have to do,
Yeah. All right. Why don't you close this out?
Been there, Bobby. Been there.
Been there, done that. Why don't you close this out?
All right. You're listening to Breaking Big Blue. As always, like, subscribe, tell your friends. Collaboration, Breaking Big Blue. Giants Nation show, Bobby. I'm not going to mess it up this time. Looks like there's a big number there, Bobby, too. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Hey, make sure you like this podcast, the Giants Nation show, and this episode in particular. You're listening to Breaking Big Blue, Giants Nation show. See you next time.